Listen, the body rises like a little tyrant and pretends to be a king. The breath quickens. The chest tightens. The mind races. The skin tingles with signals. And instantly, a judgment forms. This is me. This is my life, my fear, my fate. No, I cannot and I do not permit a set of sensations to declare my identity or dictate my horizon. I must maintain my God-given dominion where I stand. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and measure the pulse. Be still and know I. Therefore I say to the winds and the waves of nerves and hormones, peace, be still. And I remember that even the sea and the storm obey the Christ within. I refuse the pretense that the report is the ruler. Now, yes, the nervous system reports. It is a messenger, not a monarch. It is a dashboard light, not the engine. A telegram, not the government. If I grant governance to it, I bow to a wire and forsake the electricity that flows unseen. But I will not be governed by a body I did not create. The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty giveth me life. I then am the life of this form. I am not the flicker of its gauges. This hand can neither give nor withhold. Something directs this hand. So too these nerves can neither bless nor curse. Something governs these nerves. I am that something, not Joel, not persona, not a swashbuckling ego, but the gentle, universal I. I and my Father are one. That one governs. Now, do you remember that I did not say my oneness with God in the human sense? My conscious oneness with God, the I that is closer than breathing, that I stands now, here, and assumes conscious dominion. Therefore, I say, I in this instant assume dominion over mind and body. I will not argue with sensations. I will not plead with them. I will not chase them with other sensations. I will recognize them as reports, impersonal, momentary, passing telegrams, and I will read them in peace. I will not sign the telegram with my name. I tell you plainly, this is not theory. This is not a lecture to make you clever about nerves. This is the first step of a method, an inward travel that reveals the throne. We will move within, and we will discover that the I that witnesses is not disturbed by what it witnesses. And how shall we know that we have not been hypnotized by our own sentences, by evidence? Let not your heart be troubled, not because you have perfected a speech, but because the heart learns again its true government. And the first sign will be simple, concrete, immediate breath slows. You will not force it. You will notice it. You will not argue. You will witness. And as witnessing deepens, the chest opens. The rhythm returns. The body remembers its master. I will not pretend that I did not have long periods where the body shouted and tried to make a god of itself. Sometimes it still marches to the front like Goliath and blusters. Sometimes it may get the best of me for a moment, but not for long. I snap out of it. I return to I. I recall that the life is more than meat and the body more than raiment. I am the life, one life, the only life. And because I am that life, I do not consult a spasm to learn who I am. I consult I rest. I meditate. I ponder. I contemplate. I assume dominion. Therefore set your face like a flint and take this vow with me. The nervous system is a report, not a ruler. I assume conscious dominion now. Say it until the words fall away and the certainty stands alone. In the moments ahead, we shall travel within in ordered ways. But even here at the threshold, let the first evidence begin to appear. Exhale gently. Do not command the breath. Simply notice that as I is recognized, breath obeys. And that obedience is not the victory of a person over a body. It is the remembrance of order. Be still and know that I am. Here begins the government. Here ends the tyranny of a rumor. Now the next step. I stand as porter at the door of thought and of feeling. I take my post. I set my watch. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. I, in this instant, assume conscious custody over what may pass into my awareness and what may be refused at the threshold. And my oath is simple and absolute. Nothing shall enter my mind or body that defileth no panic parading as truth. No inherited fear wearing my grandfather's coat. No world suggestion knocking with urgent fists. I am the doorkeeper. I am the tiler over my mind and over my body. Now, yes, the suggestions come. They come as headlines, as tones of voice, as old schoolroom shames, as the pulse of another person's worry broadcast into the air. Let me repeat that they come as suggestions, not as self, not as I. Do not call them mine. Do not feed them with your name. They are the impersonal hypnotism of the race, seeking outlet through the nerves, seeking breath to ride upon, seeking a mouth to speak with. Take heed what ye hear. Take heed what you host. I will not sign for every parcel that arrives at this door. I will not put my signature beneath another's panic or my own yesterday's rumor. I stand and I ask, who goes there? And if the answer is fear, I answer, I know thee not. If the answer is hurry, I answer, thou hast no authority in this house. I stand, not by muscles, not with fists clenched, but with quiet recognition. I am not the traffic that passes. I am the one at the gate. Now do you see the necessity? If I let the body set the tempo, the body will hurry the breath will hurry the heart will hurry the thoughts, and the thoughts will hurry the tongue, and then, without ever choosing, I will be dragged through a city not of my making. But I cannot permit this. I must set the tempo by conscious awareness. I then am the rhythm. I then am the silence that becomes the metronome of the whole house. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. I keep it by keeping the door. Now, part of this is correction, because some of you imagine that dominion means to fight sensation, to wrestle it to the floor, to outshout it with affirmations. No, put up thy sword. Dominion is not willpower. It is eye power, but it has to be a gentle eye, not a swashbuckling eye. The gentle eye governs by presence, by attention placed within. The guard at this door does not brawl with passers-by. He observes. He recognizes. He admits or refuses with a nod. So I do not fight the tremor in the belly. I do not clamp the jaw against the quick breath. I do not command the heart. I stand at the door and I notice. I remain. I let the sensation be reported without granting it the office of ruler. And as I remain, the house remembers its master, and the breath, uncoerced, begins to take instruction from stillness. How then do I practice this? I begin where I am, here and now. I sit or stand without display. I declare, softly and surely, I am at the door. I feel the brow from within, not from the mirror. I feel the throat from within, not as a sound, but as a space. I let the first signals present themselves without debate, and I say within, this is not my failure. This is suggestion-seeking outlet. I am not the outlet. I am the inlet of peace. I am the porter, and I do not argue for proof. I look for fruit. Ye shall know them by their fruits. The fruit is the breath beginning to even, the shoulders beginning to lower themselves, the face forgetting its performance, the mind losing its hurry. That is a sign at the door that the right guest is being entertained. Now, yes, sometimes an old alarm will slip past and shout in the foyer before I even know it has crossed the sill. Sometimes it still may get the best of me for a moment. Do not make an ego out of that. I snap out of it not by force, not by shame, but by returning to the threshold. I stand again. I breathe the word I on the exhale, not as argument, as evidence. I then am the peace that passes understanding. Not an understanding about peace, but the very peace. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and the King of glory shall come in. Lift up the gates of thought and feeling to I, and who enters is not panic, but presence. Therefore, my vow stands. To calm the body, I do not fight sensation. I guard the door and refuse false authority. I, in this instant, maintain the post. I allow in what bears the seal of I, quiet assurance life, and I decline all that comes stamped with fear. And even now, as I stand, the body listens, the breath slows, and government is restored. Now I must correct a danger that slips in with holy words and steals the crown while we are applauding ourselves. Do not make an ego out of healing. Do not grasp at the word I with a clenched jaw and declare, I control my nervous system. I will show them. I will master this body. That is the swashbuckler. And the swashbuckler always works up a sweat, always needs an audience, always leaves the room more excited than when he entered. Put up thy sword, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Dominion is not a parade of personal will. It is the quiet right of being. Therefore, I say to myself and to you, gently, necessarily, I shall not let Joe fasten the badge of sheriff upon himself and call it God. I am not a performer. I am presence. The gentle I is not timid, but it is meek, and the meek shall inherit the earth. Meek does not mean weak. It means governed by inner authority that does not need to shout. It is the still small voice, not the wind or the earthquake or the fire. It is what remains when the struggle ends. When the gentle I is acknowledged, the breath settles of itself, like a lake when the wind forgets its argument. The heart learns a slower grammar. The face puts down its armor. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Strength that needs to prove itself is not strength. It is insecurity recruiting applause. True dominion is invisible to the crowd and undeniable to the body. It does not say, look at me heal. It slips into the closet, shuts the door, and the Father, who seeth in secret, rewards openly with peace. Let me confess, to keep this clean of heroics, that I had my long periods of practice, and sometimes agitation still returns as if to test the hinges of the door. Sometimes it may get the best of me for a moment. I do not make an ego out of that either. I do not sit in the ashes saying, I failed. I snap out of it, not by a whip, but by a return. Return unto thy rest, O my soul. I go back within. I take my post. I breathe the word I on the exhale. I let the report without promotion to ruler. And as surely as the sun remembers morning, the breath once more remembers its origin and slows to the cadence of I. Now, yes, you will be tempted to count victories, to measure your holiness by how still you can sit in a storm, to announce your findings to friends as if grace were a statistic. Resist that temptation. When thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee. Healing is not a theater. It is a sacrament of government restored. Do not measure progress by fireworks of thought. Measure it by the fruit that does not perform, the breath even, the shoulders unburdened, the tongue restrained from haste, the gaze softened, the impulse to defend yourself gone because there is no self left to defend. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Let these be the only certificates you hang in your heart, and the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Keep God garrison. Do you see the same government at work? Therefore I establish this vow. I will not let the personal self turn sacred I into a banner for conquest. I in this instant assume dominion as quiet, as humility, as presence. I will not wrestle the body. I will witness it into order. I will not argue for control. I will abide as control. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. I am that leading, not a leader. I am that water, not a warrior. And as I remain in the gentle I, not noisy, not dramatic, not self-congratulatory, the body yields, the breath slows, and the government of peace proves itself without a word. Now the next necessity. As long as I chase explanations, trauma labels, diagnostic phrases, histories rehearsed under brighter lights, I remain in the head, busy with the shadows that words cast upon the wall. I cannot permit this distraction to pose as depth. I will not mistake analysis for awareness, nor vocabulary for visitation. Ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth, I will not be numbered there. Therefore, I turn from the museum of terms and I step into the living room of presence. Let me speak plainly. God is a 3-letter word. Spirit, a 6-letter word. Trauma 7. Anxiety 8. Autonomic 10. These are sounds shaped by lips and pushed by air. Useful at a kindergarten of soul, perhaps. But I am not to be kept in the primer. I must not allow syllables to become idols set up in the temple of my chest. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. Now listen. You will never find God as a word. You will never tame the body with a definition. You will never still the breath with an argument. You must strip the words until only I remains. There is one word you cannot get rid of, the word I. Not the I that swaggers in the mirror. Not Joel. Not a badge. Not a banner. I am that I am. The burning bush announced not a doctrine but a self. And where is that self discovered? Not up in the forehead where the neon of thought flashes and burns itself out. I does not rise from the brow. I arises from the chest, from the heart, from the very place where breath discovers its source. The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. I stands without syllable and before the next thought. I am that I. So let us do it now, without theater. Let the labels tumble like leaves after their season. Let diagnosis yield its chair. Let even holy synonyms retire for a moment. God, Spirit, Christ, let them bow, and in their bowing disappear into the one they signify. Do not concentrate. Relax your hold. Do not repeat many things. Let go of everything until only I remains. Now do you feel it? Not a word, not a sentence, but a living sense, a weightless weight in the chest, a warmth that is not heat, a still awareness that does not need a reason to be. Stay there. Say nothing within you but I, and even that only as the softest exhale. This is the pivot. When I is touched directly, the body begins to take instruction from stillness without argument. The nerves have been listening all along for a commander without a voice. As I stands revealed, command is issued without a commandment. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and explain it. Be still and know. And what is the first sign that knowing is not an idea? The breath remembers home. It does not obey your will. It obeys I. It slows of itself, like a child who on seeing his father stops running and simply is held. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Now, yes, the mind will try to slip a comment card under the door. Is this working? How do I know? Perhaps we should name this state, chart it, develop a framework. I recognize the voice and I answer with silence. I hold to I. I do not chase the next thought. I abide the prior presence. Let all the earth keep silence before him. And in that keeping, the earth of my body keeps silence before I. The jaw softens. The ribs remember their original covenant. The heart releases its emergency posture. Without decree, posture changes. Without therapy, tempo changes. Without contest, order returns. Now let me repeat. So you do not miss the doorway while admiring its frame. Strip the words until only I remains. If a verse comes, let it be this one. And let it come as life, not as literature. I and my Father are one. Then drop even that and rest as the one. No labels, no diagnoses, no theology as terms, no self-improvement slogans. Only I, only the sense that precedes thought and governs breath. When words drop away and only I is realized, the body begins to take instruction from stillness. This is not my theory. This is the government of one life reclaiming its house. Stay a moment longer. Exhale the soft I. Feel the answer arise, not as a sentence, but as a slower breath. That is the evidence. That is the throne reoccupied. Now we travel, not as explorers with flags, but as the rightful governor returning to rooms of his own house. I begin at the head not to fix, not to argue, not to diagnose. I simply place awareness like a warm, quiet hand upon the scalp from within. I notice the crown, the sides, the back of the head, the tender sutures where childhood once pulsed. I do not squeeze the mind to be quiet. I rest as quiet and let the head be aware of being seen. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. I do not pour oil. I discover it. With the next gentle exhale, I breathe the soft, wordless I. Not a chant, not a push consent. Breathe gently, breathe slowly, and always on the exhale. Now to the forehead. I feel it from inside, not as lines on a mirror, but as an inner plane, the broad field just above the brow. Perhaps there is buzzing, perhaps a faint pressure, perhaps even a numbness, as if a helmet were being worn. Let it report. Let it say what it will as a messenger. Do not promote the messenger to the throne. This is not prophecy. This is sensation, impersonal, momentary, unowned. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. I do not stay on the sensation. I stay on I. On the exhale, the soft I moves like a breeze across a lake, and the lake remembers how to mirror the sky without ripple. Do nothing extra. Only notice that as attention rests, the breath begins to lengthen of itself. You are not forcing it. You are witnessing obedience. That is the first evidence that government has returned to this province. Now the brow itself, the bridge between thoughts and sight, the space between the eyes, the place of the single seeing, I feel behind the brow, the sinuses, the sockets, the little tributaries of sensation that run like streams across the temples. If there is racing of thought, let it race like horses around a field, while I sit under a tree at the center. I do not chase them. I am the field. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. I do not strain to be single-eyed. I realize I is already single. Again, breathe the consent on the exhale I, and notice whether the light of awareness grows steadier, not brighter as spectacle, but steadier as sunrise. You no longer doubt. If a tight band is felt, call it impersonal suggestion and let it pass without signature. I will not sign. I remain. Now descend to the throat, the gate of wood and the collar where hurry loves to fasten its grip. I feel the base of the tongue, the soft palate, the jaw hinges, the cords that carry the sentence into the air. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. I keep the door not by clenching, but by attending. I let the tongue settle from the roof. I let the jaw hang by its own weight. I let the throat remember that it is a channel, not a dam. Here I especially breathe on the exhale I, and the air passes the gate with a bow. This is how swords are sheathed without a fight. Put up thy sword. The gentle eye governs speech before it is speech. Feel how the neck releases a notch, how the swallow finds ease. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The yoke is at the neck. The ease is the evidence. And yes, as you rest here, there may come a flutter at the base of the skull, or a sudden yawn, or even a cough wanting to clear passage. Let it be impersonal housekeeping. Do not dramatize. Do not convert a broom to a burglar. Keep the post. Keep the breath. Keep the exhale as consent I. Notice again. If you are succeeding, the breath is no longer a little rabbit running. It is a deer at the edge of a meadow, unhurried, not because you caught it, but because fear has left the clearing. He that believeth shall not make haste. You are not making haste. You are not making anything. You are receiving government returning, room by room. So my vow stands in practice. Awareness placed within the head region begins the return of government, exhale by exhale. I will not manage the nerves. I will meet them. I will not pace the breath. I will notice it lengthen of itself under the rule of I. Scalp, forehead, brow, throat. These are not battlegrounds. They are thresholds. I stand as porter. I breathe as presence. I witness as governor. And as I remain, the house knows its master. The breath bears witness, and the crown to throat become a single corridor of quiet through which peace walks unannounced. Now I enter the chest not as a mechanic with tools, but as the rightful resident returning to his own hearth. I feel the collarbones from within, the little bridges that span from shoulder to sternum. I let awareness rest beneath them as if warm hands had slipped inside and were laying a quiet upon the ledge. I allow the sternum to be known from the backside, not as bone to be pushed, but as a door that opens only inward. I do not press the ribs to widen. I cannot permit myself to take the whip to breath. I let them remember. I breathe the soft eye on the exhale, and I attend. I attend the front ribs, the side ribs, the hidden back ribs under the shoulder blades. I refuse to call tightness truth. If there is a band across the chest, I will not crown it king. I remain here until it yields. Now, yes, here is the holy discovery. Closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet, I arise as in the chest, not as a word now, but as presence. The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart. Feel that, not a syllable in the head, a living quiet in the breast. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. I believe in I, the I that is not Joel, not persona, not the manager of lungs, but the very life that moves them. I then am the life of these lungs, the peace of this heart, the breath of these ribs. I do not seize the rhythm. I unveil it. I do not count the seconds. I consent to the source. On the exhale, and immediately I sense the chest remembering how to be a sanctuary instead of a staging ground. Stay and watch the evidence. The ribs begin to move like reeds at the edge of a still lake. No splash, no hurry, just the body answering to order. The breath grows softer, lighter, sometimes almost imperceptible. Not because I have held it down, but because fear has been dismissed from its post. He that believeth shall not make haste. This is not absence. This is order. This is not collapse. This is governance. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Keep God garrison. Feel how the very word keep becomes sensation. The chest is kept, the heart is kept, the lungs are kept. No argument can do this. Only presence can. Let me extend awareness to the back body. For many of you live only in the front, as if life were lived to an audience. I include the back ribs, the soft place where the heart nestles against the spine, the caverns under the shoulder blades. I feel breath widen into those rooms as a tide that knows both shorelines. I do not push it there, I witness it arriving. The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life. I then am that breath entering the back ribs. I am that spirit relaxing the armor that never fit. If the chest still argues, I do not argue back. I outlast it with gentleness. I in this instant assume dominion by abiding until the form takes the hint. Now the heart. Not to fix, not to pry, not to read its beats as gossip. I stand before it as priest before altar, and I say without a sound, I create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Clean does not mean empty. It means ordered. Right spirit does not mean effort. It means alignment. I allow the heart its rightful pace under I's government. If it is quick, I do not scold. I encompass it. If it is slow, I do not boast. I abide. And always the sign is the same. The exhale lengthens by itself. The inhale arrives like a gift. The whole chest participates as one piece. And the mind, seeing that proof, falls silent because it has been overruled by peace. Therefore my vow stands with necessity. I cannot permit the chest to tighten and then call that truth. I cannot enthrone a spasm and then bow to it as fate. I stand here until it yields. I remain here until presence is felt more than word. I breathe the soft I on the exhale until the ribs float, the lungs remember their ocean, and the heart reclines into trust. In the chest, I is recognized as presence, and breath naturally takes its rightful pace. This is how government demonstrates itself. Not by noise, but by an order so quiet that you almost miss it until you realize that everything is obeying. Now we descend. I lower awareness like a lantern into the solar plexus, the little sun beneath the breastbone where many of you have lived under weather, not under sky. I feel the ring of the diaphragm from within, the tender place where breath and feeling have their old arguments. Here come the familiar reports. A clench, a flutter, a twist of nausea, an emptiness like a hole punched in soft earth. They report, I do not promote. I refuse to enthrone any of these as ruler. These are not I. These are not mine. These are suggestions moving a sensation, impersonal fear looking for a name tag. Be careful for nothing. But in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your request be made known unto God. My request is simple, that government be restored here by presence alone. So I begin as I have vowed to begin. On each exhale, I lay attention down into the belly as a man would lay a burden from his shoulders to the ground. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. I cast it by the exhale. I let awareness settle behind the navel, low and steady, like a warm hand that has no task but to remain. I do not analyze what memory these signals refer to. I do not rummage in yesterday's drawers. I deny them biography. I deny them identity. I let them be the wind that passes over a field that is I. And I remain the field. I breathe the soft I on the exhale, and I feel the abdomen respond, not to argument, but to presence. Now, yes, the thought will rush in with its skeptic's trumpet. This won't work. This one is too old. This is the worst one. I hear it. I do not consult it. He shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. I fix the heart of attention lower, in the very place of the rumor. I touch the solar plexus with awareness again, as often as needed, as often as the doubt repeats its headline. I do not answer the thought with a counter thought. I answer it with contact. I answer it with I. I keep placing the lantern in the same place, on the same table, until the room knows where home is. Feel now the belly itself, the front, the sides, even the back where the kidneys rest like quiet stones. I attend the whole circumference. I let the belt of the body be held in a wider space. If there is clutching, I do not pry it open. I surround it. If there is hollowness, I do not stuff it with explanations. I inhabit it. Perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. I do not cast with a toss. Love casts by presence. I am that love as presence, not romance, not sentiment, regency. And as I remain, the diaphragm releases a notch. The exhale lengthens by one quiet beat. The belly in its innocence begins to move, not in startle, but in tide. Let me speak plainly so you will not mistake the house cleaning for a storm. There may come a deep sigh, a yawn, a little wave of heat, a swallow, even a small shiver moving down the spine. Let it be impersonal housekeeping. Do not pin a narrative to it. Do not say, this is the time and rehearse a scene. Remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old. You are not negotiating with memory, you are ministering to sensation. Keep the exhale, keep the placement, keep the wordless I that says nothing governs everything. Now to the navel and below. the soft bowl in which the old alarms hid their matches. I enter without conquest. I rest as if I had returned to a cradle I did not build, but that has always been mine. Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. I do not manufacture rivers. I uncover the spring. I allow the belly to be breathed. Not by me, but by I. And watch the sign. The breath that once panted becomes a river without drama. The abdomen expands like a field receiving rain, and the exhale, almost imperceptible, gives evidence that the tyrant has abdicated. Now yes, sometimes even after several quiet minutes, the flutter returns as if to ask, "Are you sure?" I will not make an ego out of that. I do not advertise defeat. I do not force a finale. I answer with the same steady courtesy. I place awareness there again. I breathe a soft I on the exhale again. I stand my watch. Stand, therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. The girding is not tightening. It is constancy. Truth here is that fear is impersonal suggestion, and I am not its host. Therefore, my vow in this lower house is firm and tender. I will meet every clench, every flutter, every emptiness, as a mere report at the door, and I will receive it into the great room of I until it forgets its costume and becomes quiet. I will not analyze triggers. I will not argue with memories. I will not time the miracle. I will lay the burden down on each exhale and let the Lord keep what I am not built to carry. And the evidence shall be simple and undeniable. The belly calms, the breath slows, the old alarms retire without ceremony, and peace keeps the gate from the solar plexus to the navel as one continuous sanctuary. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. I then am that rule gentle, universal, nearer than breath and the body, recognizing its government, yields. Now to the foundation. I lower awareness into the hips as a king would enter the first gate of his city, not to conquer, but to be known. I feel the sockets from within, the deep cups where thigh meets pelvis, the heavy muscles that have memorized bracing and the readiness to run. Let them report. I do not promote. I will not command. Relax, as if a sergeant could preach peace. I stand as presence. I breathe the soft I on the exhale, and I witness until the body remembers it is safe to soften. Underneath are the everlasting arms. I then am those arms, not squeezing, not forcing, holding. I include the sacrum, the tailbone, the sitting bones, the holy tripod on which so much pretending has perched. If there is clamping, I do not pry it open. I encircle it with awareness. If there is numbness, I do not accuse it of stubbornness. I attend as if warming cold hands at a quiet fire. I, on the exhale, again. I, again. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Lying down is not collapse. It is consent. As consent grows, notice the first evidence. The urge to fidget is less. The legs no longer volunteer to rescue a mind that needs no rescue. The weight of the pelvis increases as if trust had substance. This is not heaviness of despair. This is gravity given back to God. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. Even this weight belongs to I. Now the thighs, front, back, and sides, the quadriceps that leap, the hamstrings that hold, the outer bands that guard the borders. I meet them one by one and all at once. I am not here to make them behave. I am here to remember them into order. Be still and know. I do not say be still or else. I simply know, and the knowing transmits. On the exhale, the soft I travels like a slow river through muscle and fascia, and the banks loosen their grip because the water they were defending has returned. Feel this. The breath lengthens a fraction without your counting. The thighs grow heavier on the chair or the floor, as if roots were unhiding themselves. Into the knees now, the hinges that bow to every hurry and whisper of alarm. If there is a tremble, I do not call it mine. I call it impersonal suggestion departing. He that believeth shall not make haste. I believe, therefore haste loses its case. I on the exhale. I as witness. I as government. The calves, the shins, the ankles, these too have worn the armor of readiness. I remove nothing by force. I simply stand until the army forgets the war. Feel the coolness or warmth, the tingle, the soft ache of joints remembering rest. Let them. Do not diagnose, do not fix. Witness as priest, not as mechanic. Now the feet, soles, arches, heels, toes, the little prophets that always tell the truth about safety. How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. Let your own feet preach it now without a word. Spread the toes from within by noticing them. Let the arches uncurl their prayer. Let the heels grow heavy as anchors lowered into a friendly sea. Your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Preparation means you came ready to be quiet. And as you include the feet in awareness, the whole line from pelvis to ground becomes one sentence, and the period at the end of that sentence is rest. Now, yes, this is the core discovery. There is no my mind against my body. There are not two of us at odds. One life expresses as thought and as thigh, as prayer and as pelvis, as breath and as bone. We, being many, are one body. I will not set member against member. I will not treat legs as servants of a nervous ruler. I then am the life of these legs, the peace of these hips, the wisdom of these knees. I, in this instant, assume dominion by refusing division. Safety returns as the lower body is included in awareness. Unity replaces inner conflict. Measure by evidence, not by commentary. Has the fidgeting reduced? Are you heavier without dread? Is the breath now slower than when you began? And did it slow without your hand on the reins? Then peace is governing. Let it deepen. Sit a moment longer than habit allows and feel how the pelvis widens, the tailbone descends, the thighs rest as if they had found the floor beneath the floor. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me upon my high places. High places are not heights of adrenaline. They are elevations of stillness wherein nothing must be defended. Therefore, my vow at the foundation is necessity itself. I will not permit the lower body to remain an unvisited province where fear recruits. I travel there daily. I breathe there gently. I witness there steadfastly. I will not make an ego of relaxing. I will remain until relaxation remembers itself. And as I do, the sign will be undeniable and untheatrical. The body grows quiet at its base. The breath slows further. The inner split dissolves. And peace, having reached the feet, rises again as a single government from ground to crown. Great peace have they which love thy law. I love this law of unity. I am this law. And the foundation, recognizing its governor, is safe. Now from the foundation I rise through the pillars. I include the shoulders. I do not yank them down as if peace could be commanded by force. I simply arrive, and they recognize their governor. If they are lifted like little shields beneath the ears, I do not scold. I surround. On the exhale, the soft eye. Again, I. The government shall be upon his shoulder. I let that become sensation. Weight passes from muscles to eye, as if the yoke slipped off and promise took its place. Tingling, a little cold, even a numb hush along the collar. Reports, not rulers. I will not promote any sensation to the throne. I let awareness run like warm light down the upper arms, front and back, bone and muscle past the elbows that bend to every urgency. I refuse the old reflex to fix. I consent to govern. He that believeth shall not make haste. So I do not make haste through the arms. I abide in them. Elbows, forearms, the places where sleeves rub, the small cords that tighten when I clutch a moment I should release. Let them all be held inside the quiet. If a patch of skin feels distant, if prickles come and go, let that be the evidence of life returning to an annex. Long, unattended reports, not rulers. I keep the breath soft, the eye on the exhale, steadier than any flicker. Now to the wrists, those little gates where hurry likes to fasten its buckles. I stand as porter here. I let the band around them loosen without me loosening it. Presence does what fingers cannot. Into the hands now. Palms. Backs. Webbing between thumb and finger. The tender heel that meets the world. This is where the proof begins to glow. Let me say it plainly, so you do not forget the demonstration that cancels argument. This hand can neither give nor withhold. It has no will of its own. Without I, it hangs. With I, it blesses. Something governs this hand, and it is not the nervous system. I am that something gentle, not swaggering, quiet, not theatrical. In him we live and move and have our being. In I, the hand lives and moves. The hand does not decree. It answers. So here is a small obedience. On the next exhale, I, and allow the fingers to unlace their secret fist. Do not pry. Consent. Watch how the knuckles soften, as if a small verdict were reversed. Another obedience? Let the thumbs float a hair's breadth from the palms. Another? Feel the pulse in the center of the hand and call it holy because it is life, not because it is strong. Lift up holy hands without wrath and doubting. Lift them inside, not in the air. Lift them by awareness until wrath melts and doubting loses its case. If a coolness travels to the fingertips, if warmth replaces it, if a shimmer passes, like a school of minnows, do not write a headline. Note it. Breathe. Rejoice without noise. Now I sweep again through the lower limbs that carried so much yesterday. Calves that were ready to spring. Shins that rang like tuning forks for alarms not heard. Ankles that braced. Feet that waited at the door. Let them report. I descend with the same courtesy. On the exhale, I. The calves unclench not because I command them, but because I am present. The ankles find their circles again, small, patient. The feet arches, balls, heels, toes become bright with attention, without effort. How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. Let your own feet preach now by resting. Spread the toes from within by noticing them. Do not force them apart. Let the soles meet the ground as if the earth were not an enemy but the Lord's. If there is numbness at the little toe, cold at the heel, tingling at the arch, reports, not rulers. As awareness touches, the body yields. Another micro demonstration. Soften the jaw a notch. Not a command, a consent. Tongue settles from the roof. Breath elongates one measure. Another. Sense the nails of each finger without looking at them. Feel how life grows them without your project plan. The very hairs of your head are all numbered. If hairs and nails are numbered by I, what is this little unclenching to accomplish? Nothing heroic is needed. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. These least things, one finger uncurled, one toe unguarded, one swallow unhurried, prove the much. Dominion is shown not by a shout, but by an eyelid that closes without strain. Now I seal the scam. I refuse to live as a head driving a body. I live as awareness containing a body. I sense the whole form at once, the crown that learned quiet, the throat that yielded, the chest that remembered its hymn, the belly that retired its siren, the hips in their rightful weight, the arms that answer, the hands that bless, the legs that rest, the feet that preach peace. All of this held within I. I do not hold my breath around it. I let the breath be the evidence through it. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Now let it keep the wrists and ankles, the palms and the soles. Let it garrison every small place, and measure not by thought but by the sure sign. The breath has slowed again without your management, and the smallest places have bowed without your speech. Therefore, my vow is simple and irrevocable. I will continue to prove dominion in small obediences. When awareness touches, the body yields. I stand as porter at the door of fingers and toes, and one life governs all. Now here is where many falter, and I will not leave you there. After the body has yielded, the mind sometimes keeps its newspaper press running, headlines, editorials, interviews with yesterday. It will say, you only imagined that quiet. This won't hold. You must think your way to safety. I cannot permit this to become my ruler. I stand as porter at the door of thought, and I refuse a trial by argument. I do not take the witness stand to refute a rumor. I return to the exhale. I place awareness where I last knew the evidence, in the chest, in the belly, in the hands, in the feet, and I breathe the soft I. Be still and know that I am God. I do not make a case. I make contact. Now, yes, this must be plain. Success is not measured by the brilliance of my counter thoughts. Success is proven by fruit. By their fruits ye shall know them. What is the fruit here? The breath slows of itself. The exhale lengthens a shade. The shoulders drop a notch without being yanked. The jaw softens from the inside. The ribs move like reeds on a lake with no wind. This is the evidence. This is the government made visible as sensation. You may still hear thoughts moving like distant traffic. Do not count cars. Count only the river. He that believeth shall not make haste. Belief here is not an opinion. It is the willingness to let breath take its rightful pace and allow that pace to outrank commentary. I know the protest, but the mind won't cooperate. It keeps judging. It keeps predicting. Let it talk to itself. You need not be the audience. Do not rise to the bait. Do not organize a counter committee. Every time you feel the pull to argue, step down into contact. Touch the chest from within. Lay the lantern in the belly. Let the hands receive their warmth. Feel the weight in the hips. On the exhale, I, again, I do not fight sensation. I do not fight narration. I outlast them with presence. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Quietness is not silence of thoughts. It is the stillness of government in which thoughts lose authority. Now, yes, Agitation may surge again. Do not condemn yourself. Do not write a headline, "I have lost it." No one loses I. At most, you nod it off at your post. Simply reassume it. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. I set that watch at the door of thought and feeling. I call every spike of fear an impersonal suggestion. I do not make a sinner of myself. I do not make a monster of the mind. I simply resume the sacred duty. On the exhale, I. If the heart is quick, I encompass it. If the belly flutters, I shelter it. If the jaw tightens, I surround it. And the proof returns not by argument, but by breath. It slows, it lengthens, it becomes almost imperceptible. Peace has taken the gavel. Make this practical, or you will only admire it. 30 seconds of inner travel is better than 30 minutes of wrestling in the head. Standing at the sink, waiting at a light, before you answer the message. As you place your hand on the doorknob, do not consult the newsroom. Lay the lantern. Exhale I into one region and wait for the smallest sign. A swallow that arrives, a shoulder that lowers, a toe that spreads, a sigh that releases without drama. That tiny obedience is government reestablished. Do not seek fireworks. Seek order. Do not seek a blank mind. Seek a faithful breath. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Let it rule in the ribs and wrists, the belly and the brow. I will not pretend that this is always easy. I had my long periods of practice, and sometimes yet the old weather tries to move back in. It may get the best of me for a moment, but not for too long. Why? Because I have learned my criterion. I do not measure by thoughts. I measure by the return of quiet. And the sign of that quiet is the slowed breath under gentle eye. Therefore, in this instant, I assume dominion without drama. I remain porter. I refuse debate. I let breath be the evidence, not the argument. And as surely as night yields to dawn, the body answers, the mind hearkens, and the one life proves again that it governs all. Now let us take the next step, for I would not have you make a private shrine of what is a public law. What you have felt as breath returning to order is not merely a nervous system calm. It is the sign and sacrament of governance, one life, reigning without strain. There is one body and one spirit, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. Stillness is not mine. Stillness is I. Not a personal treasure to God, but the atmosphere of the kingdom made tangible. Therefore, I cannot permit myself to keep this as an achievement of technique. I in this instant remember, I and the Father are one. Therefore, I and all appearing as my neighbor, my street, my city, are included in that oneness. I then am not merely self-regulated. I am under spiritual dominion, and that dominion is universal by nature. Now, yes, you must see how this dissolves quarrel at its root. There is no my supply and thy supply. There is no my peace and thy peace battling for air. My interests are your interests, because there is only I, individuated but not divided. We, being many, are one body in Christ, and every one members one of another. If I take a breath that is faithful, do you think that faithfulness stops at the edge of my skin? No. The atmosphere shifts. Children in the room grow quiet without being told. Conversations soften without a lecture. This is not willpower, not hypnosis, not a swashbuckling I ordering a world. This is the gentle I being what it is, and the members answering their head. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Strength here is not private muscle. It is shared order. Let us bring this into the street. For sanctity that cannot walk is superstition. When irritation rises at another's haste, slowness, noise, opinion, call it what I have taught you to call it, an impersonal suggestion. Do not carve a name upon it. Do not make a sinner of your brother nor a judge of yourself. Judge not, that ye be not judged. I stand as porter at the door of feeling and refuse retaliation, even the silent kind that writes little sentences in the heart. I answer instead with contact, a soft eye on the exhale, a remembering of the whole body as one sanctuary, and then I widen. I include them. I refuse a separate person doing a separate wrong. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgiveness here is not a moral superiority. It is recognition of hypnosis. I treat the scene as a weather passing, and I remain the sky. Now, yes, you may ask, by what right do I claim that my calm touches another? By no human right at all. By nature. Consider this and let nature preach. The tree out there does not push sap by argument. The seasons move it. The bird crosses oceans without a map in its head. Instinct is I-being itself without debate. Your nails grow as you sleep. Your heart keeps sacrament in the chest when Joel has forgotten his prayers. Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not. They spin not. If I is the life of tree and swallow and heartbeat, think you it needs strain to move this breath? Or yours? Or ours? In him we live and move and have our being. Then let us live and move in I consciously and cease pretending that calm is a private project. I must place a guard here lest any of you seize this truth to parade it. It has to be a gentle eye, not an egotistical eye, not a tycoon of tranquility strutting through rooms to fix people. Put up thy sword. Do not aim your piece like a weapon. Simply abide. Assume your post as Tyler over mind and body, and let the governance radiate as scent, not as slogan. The kingdom of God cometh not with observation, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Within, but not sealed off. Within as a spring that becomes a river wherever beds are ready. Your readiness prepares beds. Therefore, I shift my measuring rod. I do not ask, did I win the debate? I ask, did the breath slow? And did the room without fanfare remember something of Eden? If yes, then one life is proving its law. If not, I do not argue more cleverly. I deepen contact. I touch chest and belly, hands and feet. I breathe the quiet I, and I hold my brother inside that circumference as part of myself, endeavoring to keep the unity of the spirit and the bond of peace. Bond, not bondage. Bond as shared life that needs no defense. My vow, then, in this wider field is unmistakable. I will not stop at self-regulation. I will live as spiritual dominion. I will not hire irritation to police my borders. I will not conscript opinion to keep me safe. I will stand as porter, breathe the I, and watch how unity dissolves quarrel, and how peace, not private but pervasive, takes the gavel. And the evidence will stay simple. Breath mine, hours slows without command, bodies remember their ordained rhythm, and life, which never needed my help, reveals that it governs all. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof. I am that fullness, announcing itself as quiet, and the world, recognizing its governor, yields. Now I must move from inspiration to assignment, From glimpse to governance, I cannot permit this to remain a lovely mood. Pray without ceasing. Therefore I make this a mandate. A continuous meditation, brief but frequent. Not hours in a cave. Many small obediences in the day you already have. 30 seconds at waking. 30 seconds before speech. 30 seconds standing at doors before you send the message, after you read a headline. 30 seconds before you sleep. I, in this instant, commit. I will travel within several times each day until stillness, not agitation, is my default climate. Here is the simple structure. Unadorned, always gentle, always on the exhale, always without analysis. Head, throat, chest, belly, hips, hands and feet. That is all. On the exhale, the soft, I never as a push, always as permission. Let the head report without rulership, brow, eyes, scalp. On the exhale, I. Throat, neck, front and back. On the exhale, I. Chest behind the breastbone, between the ribs, around the lungs. On the exhale, I. Belly, navel, sides, the solar plexus and all its old sirens. On the exhale, I. Hips, sockets, sacrum, weight. On the exhale, I. Then hands and feet, wrists, palms, soles, toes, fingers. On the exhale, I. No commentary, no diagnosing. Be still and know. Not be still and explain. There one sign, shoulders lower a notch, a swallow arrives, toes spread, breath lengthens, a shade, and pass on. Do not hunt for fireworks. Consent to governance. You must repeat these things. Let me say it again, so you cannot misplace the key. You must repeat these things. Long, long periods of practice are not a punishment. They are how the human habit is retrained to obey the deeper I. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Line, exhale I into the head. Line, exhale I into the throat. Line, exhale I into the chest. Precept, measure not by thought but by breath. When the old weather blows up impersonal suggestion of haste, fear, tightness, do not convene a court. Resume the route. Head, throat, chest, belly, hips, hands and feet. On the exhale, I. Again, again. I stand as porter at the door of thought and feeling. I as tiler over mind and body. I refuse entry to rulership from sensation. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. I keep the door of breath. Make your day a rosary of these little exhalations. Waking one travel. Before you speak one travel. At the sink one travel. In the car, before the key moves one travel. Before food touches the tongue one travel. On entering your home or work one travel. Lying down one travel. Each travel is 30 to 90 seconds. No strain, no stopwatch. The proof is the same in every place. The breath slows without your whip, and the body consents to be governed. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Let it rule in the ribs and wrists too. Do not ask how long until it becomes natural. As long as it takes for nature to be recognized as nature. The oak does not hurry its rings. The sea does not count its waves. But hear the promise and receive it now. Renewal and regeneration attend this obedience. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. You are not manufacturing calm. You are unveiling order. The body, which was never your master, becomes a transparent servant of stillness. Thoughts, which clamored for office, become clerks, not kings. Breath, which once begged under tyranny, walks freely in its native pace. I am the resurrection and the life. I then am the resurrection of right rhythm in this form. I am the life that breathes it, the peace that keeps it, the quiet that spreads it. Therefore I, in this instant, and in many instants each day, assume conscious dominion by this continuous inner travel until stillness is not an event I visit, but the government under which I live. And the sign remains mercifully simple. Breath closer than breathing proves that one life reigns, and I abide.